Welcome back everyone. We want to continue with our RS6 modeling course. We will continue working on the rear of the vehicle, and we've got a huge focus, a huge emphasis on the roof of this vehicle, and we must get this right. It is imperative, it's very important. Let's make sure that our screencast cue is turned on, and let's get some references. So here I've got the rear of the vehicle. This is the exact vehicle, and we want to start with this column. That's what we want to start with, and then we'll take it from there. It's also good to take a look at it from various different angles to make sure we're about to get this right. We don't want to make any crucial mistakes. We want to get this right. One of the more obvious parts of this design is that once this part is extruded, it goes inwards ever so slightly, but not by much. Not by much at all. And as you can see, it's not the entire thing that's extruded. So we want to be mindful of that as well. It's mostly these vertices. So these vertices right here, those are the ones that need to be extruded. But before we can get there, let's start with just one vertice. And let's just duplicate this vertice and let's just add it there. And we want to make sure that we can see this from all angles, that it lines up with our vehicle correctly, including the top as well. Let's duplicate another one and let's bring this across around there. And again, we want to see this from all angles, including the rear also. Now with these, let's press P to separate those. And from here, we're going to extrude this vertex, just one. Once again, we want to see this from the top-down view. We might need another vertex right there. And as you can see, this one is a little bit more bend. Like, it is somewhat straight, but it all depends on the perspective. Let's duplicate another one of these vertices. Let's carry this across, view this from the top, and let's carry this to the left hand side ever so slightly, and view it from the rear also. It needs to line up with that entire column. Just remember, you can always increase the opacity of the blueprint to get a better view of what you're doing. Essentially, just to get a better view of the design, you can always increase that opacity if you feel as if things are not correctly on track. We're going to extrude this vertex around that area. Now with this vertex, we want to move it across the left-hand side ever so slightly. And with these two vertices, we can press F to fill right there. Let's add another vertex right there. Probably let's bring that one across. It's also important to understand that this car doesn't just go straight up on the columns. They are emerged inwards, like they bend inwards. So that's important to pay attention to all of these key little details as you're designing the column. Now with this vertex right here, what we can actually do is extrude once again, place this one there, and then move it along, I would say, the left-hand side. Carry this down a little bit, carry this to this side a little bit, and make sure this lines up also. Okay, that's not bad. And if we add another one, if we extrude this way, let's see what happens there. So this vertex, we have to move it upwards, viewing it from the rear. It needs to be a little bit higher. I have a feeling that this one might also need to be a little bit higher. All of these can be adjusted also. Let's adjust this one also. Now you got to keep in mind, all of these can always be adjusted until we get it right. Because I always put a heavy so we've got to make sure that from all angles that this vertex is on point. Probably move it back a little bit. Especially from this perspective. And then we want to extrude, I would say, once more. Let's apply clipping because we already have this mirror to our cube. Let's apply the clipping and let's bring this back a little bit towards the rear. We might add one right there also. And now we have two. And of course, we need to move those up also. We can view this from the rear. We can also view it from the top and the side to make sure that, of course, it's in line. And to be honest, I think that's about right. That's a really good start. Let's extrude this one right there, and let's just view this from the side to make sure that it's on point. We need to lower this quite a bit. We need to move it in a little bit. With this one, we will do something very similar. We will extrude, but we might extrude straight down, kind of like that. And we might bring this vertex back and carry this one down a little bit, kind of like that. Perfect. So that's an excellent start to our design process. And with this one, once again, let's view this from the rear to make sure that it's on. So always got to make sure that everything is in place as it's supposed to be. Might have to move this one up and move this one out. Might also have to move these one out as well, because like I said, it doesn't go straight up. It warps inward in a very fashionable design principle. Let's take a look at the real car. Take a look at the real car, you know. So something key to keep in mind, especially from the top view, this part, the white area that's painted, it is actually separate from this part. So all of this is separate. So this vertex can actually come out there a little bit, because like I said, these parts are separate. And due to them being separate, we're going to go ahead and extrude the first vertex, and we're going to go ahead and move this up. We're going to add another vertex around here and move this up also. We're going to go ahead and extrude another vertex. We're going to move this up. We might have to put one there and also move this one up. It's very, very streamlined, which means we might need to turn up the opacity on our blueprint to make sure we get this right. Because these ones, they have to be in place. And let's extrude once again, and let's move this inwards. Let's add another vertex right there, and again move this upwards. And this one, we probably want to start lowering that one. Extrude once again. Move this towards the right hand side. Move it back a little bit. And then we're going to press GZ and carry this down. Looks like we might need another vertex around there. Carry this one up like that. Something along those lines. We want to make sure that these are not too low. Want to make sure that these ones are not too high. It's very carefully crafted. Like viewing it like that, you know, it has to be carefully crafted. Let's extrude once again and extrude this towards the left hand side inwards towards the center of the vehicle. Let's add another vertex around there. Carry this one down. That's looking pretty damn good. I might have to move these up ever so slightly. Might have to move these up once again ever so slightly. So now it's going to look a little bit something like that. Can probably move this out a little bit more. And we can probably carry this down a little bit more also. Now you see these groups of vertices, we can start separating those. Excellent. And then we can duplicate just this side of vertice, just this. Actually, before we go ahead and duplicate these, let's just take these in. So we're going to duplicate these. We're going to press P to separate. Excellent. So now we have that side. And we can move these towards the right hand side ever so slightly, very tiny amount. And similar thing with these ones, we're going to move those towards the left hand side, but a small amount, like minuscule. And once you zoom in, you can see it is slightly apart, and that's good. We don't want it being too close, but we also don't want it being too far, and that's important to remember. So this line of vertices is actually going to connect with this line. So these two vertices, if you have your X-ray on, these two vertices, if you've got your X-ray enabled, these two vertices, we're going to merge those at center. Actually, we need to join these first. Join these vertices, merge those at center. So now that's one. That's perfect. Now this side of the vehicle, this vertex actually, it could be a tricky one because it's not so easy to get right, you know, because this part of the car, yeah, it's just not so easy to get correct. And if we increase that opacity, you'll see why. Because this has to be on line, somewhere around there. Actually, bring this one forward just a little bit more. Bring this one back a little bit more. Then let's go ahead and extrude this vertex straight down. And let's position this to the right hand side. Might need to carry this back just a little bit. View this from the side, and we need to bring this all the way down. We're going to add another vertex around there and carry this up. Might need to carry this a little bit higher. We'll go ahead and add another vertex around here, and we might even carry this higher also. Not too high, but probably somewhere around there. See this from all angles to make sure that it's correct. May need to carry this to the left hand side a little bit, because right there at the panel, the front panel next to the windscreen, it's not so easy to capture. And notice it connects directly with this panel. That's really where it connects. These things, they connect almost directly, which is why we want to make sure that these vertices are almost next to each other. So if anything with these ones, we might need to carry these one across, kind of like that. And we might need to carry these back just a little bit. View this from all angles to make sure we didn't mess anything up. Just carry this one up just a little bit. I'd say that's almost about right, but we can probably carry this back a little bit. And this one can just carry this up a little bit. So they're almost directly next to each other. Step back from your 3D model and take a look at your work. Always step back for a moment to admire your work. Now these vertices, we want to continue a similar trend. Make sure that this is well positioned. We might need to turn up the opacity around here to make sure that this is done correctly. Move this to the left a little bit more. Same thing with that one. Carry this one forward a little bit more. And extrude once again. Carry this towards the left hand side a little bit more. And extrude once more. Might need to carry this one up a little bit. Carry this one down a little bit. And preferably, we would prefer if these lined up with one another. We can do our best. For instance, perhaps that one can line up with that one. Perhaps we need another one there to line up with that one. Those will line up, and let's extrude once more. Move this one up a little bit more, and this is when the vertices, once we extrude, they start dropping down ever so slightly, not too much, but they do eventually start going down in elevation. Turn our opacity down a little bit once again, but never forget that these need to be lined up. See, once we turn our opacity down, it sort of messes up everything, but because it's already a dark blue, that's already quite challenging for us anyway. But we still have to find the best way to work with this. Whatever makes sense to you, extrude once again. Let's move this one up a little bit. Move that one down a little bit. View this from the top and move it towards the right hand side. Extrude once again and extrude once again. We're going to extrude once again directly right there. As we spoke about previously, directly right there. That's where we're going to extrude. And from the top, we're just going to make sure that this is lined up. Should be somewhere around there. You can see there, you can see right there, it's lined up directly with that panel. So from the side, they look on point, but from the top, this one looks like it needs to go inwards, kind of like that. Believe it or not, I do believe this makes sense. Now with these vertices, I think we need to bring these vertices inwards, kind of like that. Which may seem strange, but we're going to try this. And to be honest, if you want to, we're going to go ahead and save our file in increments. Now from the top view, you can see that these vertices is like we need to bring these inwards a little bit towards the left hand side, carry them back a little bit, and move them up ever so slightly. But it's really tricky because it's a little bit tricky because it's almost like they need to be on line with the rest of this panel. But of course the problem there is, and we will see in a minute, from this angle, it doesn't look entirely right. It's like it's supposed to be lowered. And maybe if we press double G, we can lower it, kind of like that. kind of like that, where it's not entirely up there, but it's like it's close enough. But from the top, it still doesn't cover that entire thing. And that's what I'm wondering about. Now this, we need to carry that inwards as well. If it turns out that we got this design completely wrong, then we might have some answering to do. Let's carry this one upwards as well. Not too high, of course, but it's around there. And the black seam along the wing mirrors, that will be added as well. You can see, try to leave a little bit of space in for that. Like it's barely visible, but it's around that area. But of course, this is to make sure that the blueprint matches not just from the front, the left-hand side, the right-hand side, but also from the top. It's crucial, it's important. It's important that the blueprint matches all around, that it makes sense on all sides. We're going to add another vertex around this area. You can see we don't want to forget that crucial part. Move it inwards, sort of close up that gap, and move this one inwards also, close up that gap. Don't want to leave these gaps overexposed. We're going to extrude this vertex once more, carry it around there. Now eventually this has to connect to that panel, so we need to carry this down kind of like that. Carry this to the left hand side a little bit. Carry this one into the left hand side as well. Now you see these vertices, we're going to carry these ones down also. Not too much, just a little bit. Something important that I noticed as well is that these vertices, they should not be this far inwards. They should be a little bit more out. Basically fit in with the rest of the vehicle. So we're just going to carry these out a little bit. Zoom in as much as possible. So it should look a little bit like that, but we might need to bring these towards the center a little bit. Carry these towards the center also. Well, not the entire center, but actually let's keep that there for now. Now these vertices, we're going to carry those out just a little bit, not too much, but not too little. And to carry them out a little bit more. Same thing with these ones, we're going to carry those out a little bit more. Now I don't want these too close together, so we're just going to separate these ever so slightly. You know, with these vertices also, we're going to adjust these. We're going to carry these inwards just a little bit. Not too much, not too little. You can see right there, I just don't like that bulge, because it's supposed to look a little bit more circular, kind of like that. That's a little bit better. Now we're going to highlight both of these objects, and we're going to borrow some of these vertices. So we're going to duplicate this. We're going to press P to separate. Keep in mind that we need to join these two. Control J. And then we can begin. Actually, let's not think about extruding just yet. Well, actually, let's not think about joining these just yet, because first, it's a very intricate part of the car in that this is extruded. And it's a bit of an interesting design, because it's almost as if there's two spoilers stacked on each other. There's the one underneath, and then there's the one that they put on the top. So the white one that you can see right here is kind of like the original, you know, RS6 spoiler. And then the GT, this red one that they put on the top, is like completely different animal. So we're going to extrude towards the left hand side, move this back a little bit, add another vertex around there, carry this to the right hand side, and carry this forward just a little bit. Probably add another vertex right there, and we're gonna move this towards the right hand side also. This one, gonna move that towards the rear just a little bit. So it's very interesting. Another thing, just noticed, these vertices, we might need to, move those back just a little bit, not too much. Probably highlight both of them and move both of them forward just a little bit. Really strange that we have to adjust like this, but you know, once you see that something isn't 100% correct, could do with some improvements, then do your best to to improve it. These vertices have to go as far as possible up there because that's just how it is. It's quite sharp. Now, ironically, these vertices, we're actually going to borrow these again. Yeah, because we can duplicate this and essentially just move it up a little bit and press B to separate for now. And with all of this, we're just going to move them up, fit in with the blueprint, with exactly where the blueprint takes us. Kind of like that. I'm going to move this up also. We're going to move this up also. Keep something key in mind. The white spoiler is supposed to be like underneath. So we're going to carry these one across just a little bit. Well, as much as we can actually, without ruining the design. It is so weird because what's really strange is that this will have to merge with this. Like, we gotta connect those. That's what's so strange. Which, for now, we'll actually just separate them. Like, we'll have the white spoiler and the red spoiler separated for now. And because it's separated, these vertices, we're going to adjust these also. Not too much, but yeah, we're going to adjust these also. From all angles, by the way. From all angles, we're going to adjust these. And with the rear blueprint, turn up this so we can see it properly. We might need a better view of this spoiler. Take a look for yourself at the RS6 GT Avant. You can see the normal spoiler is like, you know, just the roof, the normal roof extended, just normal, just default. But the GT Avant specific spoiler attaches on top. So we have to extrude that little fin in the center. You have to extrude that part and connect it to the GT, the main Avant spoiler. Honestly, I hope that makes sense. Now, I'm not sure if the left-hand side and the right-hand side are connected, but I know this fin right there is connected somehow. This is another view of that so you can see. So like I said, these parts need to be connected, so let's join those. That's first order of business. Let's bring this forward, take it to the right-hand side, because basically these two need to be merged, essentially. Then you can carry them back even a little bit more. Carry these to the right-hand side a little bit. So we're going to fill these faces. Let's add another vertex around this area. We're going to fill that once again. Going to fill that, going to fill that. Perfect. Then we're going to use our knife tool and cut right there. Going to add another loop cut and join these. This one looks like it's a little bit too low. For some reason, that just, yeah, look at that. It is low. A little bit too low, in my opinion. Let's raise this up. Let's center these ones a little bit more as well. Which essentially means this is probably too low also. Probably is not. Maybe it's just these ones that's a little bit too low. Honestly, it's hard to say because from the left-hand side it looks fine. Actually, you know what? Let's undo that. With these ones, let's bring these ones back down a little bit, like there. Because this one, the red, is supposed to cover the white spoiler. So even this part right here, we might need to raise this up just a little bit. Might need to raise that part also. Come to think of it, from the rear, this entire part will be raised a lot more than this part. We keep that in mind. We'll also just readjust some of these vertices. We're going to start extruding our main spoiler, so we can adjust this on all angles. Let's carry this vertex back just a little bit. Let's also extrude this vertex as well. Now we have to get this right. Now this vertex, we know it's actually a lot higher than it seems. So we'll need to carry this up like around there. Keep in mind that the spoiler is also indented. And there's this incredible crease on the spoiler that runs on the panel as well. I believe this crease might occur just around there, so it's actually close to the roof. So there's this crease, it's very prominent, but there's also a crease right there, and it indents. So that's very interesting, but it indents on multiple creases. This is complex. And I believe this is where this crease might start occurring. Like literally, that's probably around where the crease is occurring, in my opinion. Just taking a rough guess, but if I were to guess, that's probably where the crease is occurring. And due to that, we might actually want to bring this high up as we extrude these vertices. Now, of course, these are fine details that you're only going to really notice if you really pay attention to the car that you're designing. So, you know, if this wasn't, if there wasn't a huge emphasis on detail, it certainly is now. And I'm wondering if that crease runs all the way through. I believe that crease might stop either around there. Yeah, I don't think it runs all the way down the front mirror. I think it stops just before hitting the front mirror. So in my opinion, I think the crease might actually stop around there, which is quite perfectly aligned with the design. That makes a lot of sense, especially from Audi, knowing that they take designing very, very serious. Everything is intentional with Audi. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to adjust these little by little. So we're going to carry these vertices in ever so slightly. I do it one by one almost, just gradually with everything. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to duplicate these. We're going to duplicate them kind of like that. Bring this back a little bit. Bring this to the right hand side a little bit, because naturally, like I said, there's that crease. And we're basically going to merge these. And now with these, we're going to bring those back a little bit. But from the side view, keep in mind, we need to bring them down as well, because, you know, they're all part of the definitive design. So got to make sure that that makes sense. And then we just need to adjust these a little bit, but we have to be very careful when adjusting these, because honestly, this is a tricky part. It might not look tricky, but we just want to make sure, because look at that. Right, these should not be that, should be more like that. And even a little bit further apart. But from the top, different story. Very different story. So we might have to carry this one out. Might have to carry them both in a little bit. As for this vertex, we might just adjust this a little bit like that. Because from the top, you can see it sort of fixed that issue that we're having right there. Carry this one out a little bit. Carry this to the rear. Carry this to the right. How interesting. Can you see what I'm seeing? You see, there's the windscreen, which is like a grayish white, but then there's the outline. And I have a feeling this outline, is that the white livery part of our design for our spoiler? Because if that's the case, it needs to be completely out there, kind of like that, but that looks a little bit too far away, in my opinion. So that's what I mean when I say this part, it's not as straightforward as you think. Because look, you can see on the livery, it's got the red and then the white. So, but it's not much. That white part of the livery, it's really not that much. So we just want to keep that in mind, honestly. With this, I'm going to bring this in a little bit more. We're going to duplicate another set of these, and we're going to carry this back like that. Perfect. May even delete that part. And all we want is to essentially join those, because that's our indent. It's like this part of the roof that's a little bit sunken in. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, this is beautiful, but honestly, I have no idea if this is going to work. Soon, we're going to start adding our, basically filling the faces, basically, because the car is looking good. If you've made it this far in this course, seriously, thank you. Remember to subscribe. remember to leave a like, and remember to subscribe, because if you made it this far, you've done pretty damn good. Remember to save your document in increments. Now you see that there on the blueprint, that's where we need to create our little fin. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So this part is almost like extruded. From the top view, I can see the fin right there, right? But then it looks like it's kind of like this. It's kind of like it's rotated. Very, very interesting design. A very interesting design by Audi, but I have to wonder, do I need to bring this back, like this part of my design? These part of my design, do I need to extend this further back to the rear? Kind of like that. That's what I'm curious about. Obviously, it makes it look worse. Like, now it looks ugly. But it's just a thought. Like, maybe it needs to be extended like that. Probably like that, honestly. Yeah, truth to be told, I think that might be correct. But let's just double check. Look at that. There we go. That's a good shot. The default spoiler. Do you see how far back that's extended? Almost the entire way. Almost the entire way. So, yeah, I think we need to carry this as far as like around there. So now that this is what we have, we know we're going to attach that fin to the top of the roof. You can even see it right there. That fin is, yeah, I'd say we're doing pretty well with the fin design. I wonder if this needs to be brought out a little bit more to make it a bit more obvious. This is a very good, view of the roof, and as you can see, the fin does extend. It's quite obvious, but not that obvious. Like, that's better. Our original thought was better. Let's add a vertex around there. We're going to add another vertex around here, and we're going to add another vertex around there. Perfect. And we can delete this face because we're going to attach it to the actual spoiler. Before we do all of that, we're going to extrude this area, including that area as well. We're just going to extrude it down and move it forward just a little bit. And let's add a loop cut around there. Don't want it to be too sharp, but that's damn good. Get these group of vertices, and we're actually going to move this down like that. Going to move these vertices down as well. These group of vertices, we're going to move them up a little bit. That's a lot better. It looks a little bit more uniform, And for now, that's how we want it to look until we want to make any changes. I still feel as if this needs to be raised. Like, this area does feel a little bit like it's off. Like, if you look at that from the rear, it looks a little bit off, But if we are going to move it up, just be careful not to move it too far up, including this area as well. We've got to be careful not to move it too far up. So that's raised a little bit, and it looks a little bit better. But also another thing, this area, if it's looking off, if everything is looking off, it could be due to this area. Like, literally. That's a lot better. And it looks a lot more uniform, a lot more simplistic. You know what, these group of vertices, they need to be connected to something. These group of vertices right here need to be connected with something. So we're just going to use a knife tool and do that. And then delete this. And then delete this unnecessary vertex. And then delete this very unnecessary group right there. Going to use a knife tool again and finish that off. Then we're going to take this down, kind of like that. That's looking a little bit better. And connect those. Brilliant. That's looking a little bit better. So you can see if we take our time, it looks a lot better. Now here comes the moment of truth. Will this side actually look nice? We're just going to connect these faces. Now these ones, we're also going to connect these faces. Let's connect those. And it looks like we might need another vertex right there. Let's make sure it doesn't mess up things from the top view. Looks good. So it looks something like that. But I'm wondering, do we need another vertex? Probably another group right there. So let's try that again. Let's fill those faces. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. It works. Now we want to fill these other faces, so let's select those 4 and continue filling these faces. Now this vertex right here, we can press double G and return it to its normal position essentially. Then we can extrude these. We can extrude this. We're going to extrude it down first a little bit, and then probably with these ones towards the rear, we can extrude that even further down to get the rear of the spoiler looking very nice and prominent. And as for these ones, we can delete those. Perfect. We're going to add another loop cut right there and join these two. Then we're going to raise this one a little bit so that looks a little bit better. Then we can even move this one backwards just a little bit as well and sort of like reposition some of these. Then we're probably just going to reposition these vertices a little bit. Yep, let's reposition these a little bit. We're going to do something off the books. We're going to join those and we're going to dissolve these edges. We can then add another vertex right there and join these, and we might just get rid of that one. But now here we're probably just going to reposition this like that. Now question is, how does that look? To be honest, it doesn't look too bad at all. Let's look at this from our matte cap and let's select everything, tab in and shift N to reset the normals. So yeah, that's not looking too bad. The impression I wanted to get is that this panel right there at the edge is kind of straight. Give that impression a little bit. Can reposition this also. Can bring this out a little bit also. Yeah, that's not looking too bad. Now we know we need to add an edge loop right around there, loop cut right there to sharpen that up. Let's add one right there also. And by the looks of things, these ones, we need to raise these a little bit. Might also raise those. We'll continue to raise these ever so slightly. And we'll continue to raise those. Perfect. So when we add another loop cut right there, you can see we have what we were looking for. You can probably readjust these as well. So we have that crease, and it's pretty damn good. Can sharpen it up if we wanted to. A little bit. We can really sharpen up that crease if we want to. And clearly we need to carry this out just a little bit, kind of like that. If we decide to bring all of these back, then yeah, it has to be all of them, which is possible. Might have to bring this one in just a little bit. We might have to bring this one out a little bit. I'm curious though. These ones right here, I think they need to be flattened a little bit, ever so slightly. Yeah, I think they need to be flattened a little bit, ever so slightly. Now this will be interesting. Now this right here, I don't think it has to fully connect, but it looks like it's screwed in, but it's not fully connected, like it's not the same piece of metal. So that's the good news. So we don't actually have to, we can actually fill this face again. Just realize that that's the shadow. Just realize that's the shadow. Gotta remember. We noticed another thing. These need to be a little bit further up. This probably needs to be a little bit further down. Yes, I think so, because this needs to be a part of the crease. Yep, like there's a crease around that area, so we're gonna add a vertex right here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna raise it just a little bit. So it looks like this part, for one, it looks like it's indented, but then there's also the crease that we were always looking for. Add another loop cut right there to edge that one out. We could add another loop cut right there. That's up to us. It all depends on how sharp we want that to look. But I'd say what we have so far is pretty damn good. How about these ones? Do we need to bring these ones down and separate and adjust this just a little bit. Okay, I don't think that's looking too bad. If we add another loop cut around there, we can give this some volume. We can adjust this and give it some volume. Not too much volume, because I think some parts of it, like this part, I think it needs to be sunken down a little bit. Yeah, kind of like that. How interesting that that's like how it's designed, you know? It's very interesting. But I do believe we're right on track with that design. Seriously, I think we're right on track with it. How about from the rear? There we go. I knew there was something that was irritating me a little bit. So we got to make sure that these are almost like on level. Right. We need to just readjust it a little bit. Not too much. Not too much at all. Just to make sure that those are in line. And then we can bring these out a little bit more. Kind of like that. Now that's looking a little bit better. To be perfectly honest, I'm loving it. It's looking absolutely fantastic. Then what we can do is this entire face right here, well, for one, save increments, but this entire thing right here, we can extrude once again, press S to sort of like scale inwards a little bit, and then fill. And we're just going to join those also. I'm going to join those also. So that's how it looks a little bit. That's how it's supposed to look. We need to join these as well. Just make sure it's being joined to the right ones. Think we might need to manually use the knife tool and just cut our way in. I think this will, obviously this is a part that you don't really have to do, but because I want to do it, I'm compelled to do it to make sure that the rest of my design follows these principles and that, you know, it makes sense. Now that's interesting. What the hell do we do here? I have no idea, to be perfectly honest. That little part doesn't look too good. Yeah, that doesn't look too good. But if we want to, we can simply just do that. Same thing with this part. Probably just do this. Fixes it a little bit. Not necessarily fixes it, but it improves it a little bit. And you know, with this area, I'm not so sure if I want this to be too sharp. Yeah, that's better. That's better. I don't think I want it to be like too sharp, you know? That can be sharpened up a little bit, but again, doesn't even have to be too sharp. I think probably around there, that's handsome enough. And then what we can do is simply raise this. Raise these ones also. Perfect, look at that. That's looking a lot better. Now if we wanted to, we can just select all of those and fill. And obviously, we can then manually just use the knife tool and perform some operations. Just cut our way in. Honestly, the knife tool it's pretty damn useful. Look at that. That's wonderful. And now to the difficult part. We need to raise these. As you well know, these need to be raised. And each time they align, each time you get a vertex that align, I just deselect them and I just continue until everything looks damn good. That's not perfect, to be honest, because we need to add vertices around here and we need to join those also. I'm gonna move this out, add another one right there and join those. And we're going to raise these also. Including these, we're going to raise these ones also. So you can see getting this right is not necessarily a piece of cake. And even at the rear, for some reason, this looks like it needs to be raised. Kind of like that. I don't know, maybe Maybe it's just me, but that feels like, you know, just using the blueprint, it just feels like it needs to be a little bit higher. Even these two parts, like these, looks like they just need to be higher as well, including these areas. This needs to be moved back a little bit. Viewed from this angle, yeah. Let's move this back. Then we can add the vertice around there. That's a little bit better. And we don't want it to feel like there's any gaps. But you see, a thing with this is that these are not perfectly lined up. So if we actually reposition these, that's when we can actually see, we barely need to do anything because it's almost like it was made for each other. So that's one of the big pros of having your design align really well. Once it aligns pretty well, there's hardly anything else you need to do. Seriously. And then we can add another vertex right there, loop cut I should say. Let's make sure this is in position. Actually, might need to bring these out a little bit more. Now that's a little bit better. Now maybe it's just me, but it feels like with the blueprint, this entire side needs to be lifted. Like, need to be careful that we don't mess this up, to be honest. But I'm just taking a guess. Now you can see right there, like, for one, those definitely need to be raised. So what we can actually do, we can probably just start with these ones by raising those ones and then seeing how that looks. Like, what's the difference that was made there? View it from the side as well. That's interesting. You can see from the side blueprint now it doesn't make sense. It's kind of like it's off its position, which I don't like. But from this position it really doesn't feel right. And it's like, that is so curious. So begs the question, what could we possibly do about this? If there's anything we could do at all, could we raise it like that? No idea. Is it just a case of raising some of them? Basically the ones we've already done that with. This is especially annoying, and what I'm going to do is just hide these for now because I never like it when this happens. I wonder. Let's try raising these entire points. Not necessarily the rear. We don't want to mess with the rear at the moment, but these ones. Before we do that, let's just save in increments just in case we mess this up. If we raise this like that, then all we need to do is to adjust this also. From the front blueprint it makes sense, but from the side it's questionable. As for these ones, let's bring these back down a little bit. It could be right. It could be right. You know, that's the question now, is what if this is right? Okay, we'll go ahead with that for now at least. But if more evidence comes out that we need to change this, we've got to be ready to readjust this. I wonder if some parts of this need to be changed. I wonder if it needs to be adjusted, just to make sure that it looks correct. Let's view this with the matte cap as well to make sure. Actually, tab in, select all, shift N, reset our normals. Let's see how this looks in our matte cap. Doesn't look too bad. But yes, let's extrude this a little bit now. Not too much, just a little bit. And zoom in, because it's like I said, we don't want this to be extruded too much. And we can add another loop cut around there. Can also add another loop cut right there. That's looking good. I am so amazed that we made it this far and it's looking terrific. But we're really taking our time. I don't like rushing this process. I prefer to take my time, if I'm being completely honest. And I'm actually going to expand this upwards using that sort of like inflated, using the active element, the lowest vertice. because I don't want that looking too flat. I really don't. I don't want it looking too flat. Always imagine this car with a sunroof. There must be a version with sunroof, not necessarily the A6, but the RS6 to be specific. Now anyway, let's merge these to the center, and we can go ahead and fill these faces. Let's select all, Shift N. It's not working, but let's continue to fill these faces. That's good. And these ones also. Might add another vertex right there. Then we can go ahead and do that. And we can adjust this as well, just like that. Just viewing this from the rear to make sure that this is all adjusted, so you can clearly see some of it needs to be readjusted. Carry some of these parts out. And as for this part, might need to raise this because that's supposed to follow the crease. And as for these areas, might need to lower this as well. And we're going to adjust this. We're going to bring this out a little bit and bring it forward. Probably close up this area as well. And then we can join these two. Control J to join. Now this is we already have a loop right there. We're gonna press G and Z and carry this inwards and carry it forward just a little bit. Just a little bit. And then of course we're gonna need to merge these two. Merge these two by center. Good. Keep an eye on this from the rear also, because we want to make sure that it makes sense with everything we're doing. Carry this in. Carry this in. Might need to add a loop around there. Yeah, I definitely think so. Might need to add 2 loops actually around there also. And adjust these. And I believe we might actually bring this inwards just a little bit like that. That's a little bit better. As for this one, might bring this down a little bit. So now we can go ahead and start merging stuff. Gonna adjust these ones also. Gonna go ahead and merge these two. We might need another loop cut right there. We're gonna fill face right there. We're gonna fill face right there also. And we're gonna fill those remaining face also. These two we're going to join. And with this one, we're going to use the manual knife tool and cut in like that. That's looking pretty good. This entire thing is a little bit too much, I believe. Might actually need to add another loop cut around there to sharpen this up. Keep in mind, it is an Audi. And here we go. We need to adjust some of these. I personally think these need to be brought up, kind of like that. Carry these one up. View them from this side. You can see it doesn't work quite well. So I'm going to adjust them manually from this angle. And what we're going to do instead is adjust them out like that, including this vertex. So you can see it's following the line of the livery. That black and red, that white and red livery, just following those lines. This needs to be a lot closer in. This side as well, I believe. May move this up also. Perfect. And remember to save that. I'm gonna add a loop cut right around there. And I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll join these and we will dissolve these faces. And we'll connect these ones like that. May need to connect this one also. And we'll just bring this in just a little bit. We'll carry this one in also. We'll carry those one in also. So that's looking a little bit better, but keep in mind, we may need to keep adjusting this until we get the ideal form. Like, I'm not convinced until we get that ideal form. And that's very difficult to do because of this area. We're going to adjust the spoiler also a little bit. So that is looking a little bit better, but like I said, I won't be entirely happy with it until it's perfect. Now what we can do next is extrude and extrude downwards. Then we can scale in on the y-axis. Well, actually, careful to change your pivot point. Change a pivot point to median point, then we can do that. Honestly, I feel as if this can be a little bit higher up. If I see something that doesn't look too well, then yeah, I'm taking control and I'm adjusting. You know, if it doesn't feel right, yeah, I will adjust. So how about now? We know these, you know, these need to be moved back just a little bit, especially these ones. We'll also adjust this side also. Keep in mind that I don't want these to look too dissimilar. I don't want them to be too close because it'll mess up everything. Let's make sure we save this document. I'm running slightly low on battery. But of course, then the next great challenge is making sure that these are aligned. Making sure that this is not too far away, but like it's close enough. Same thing with these. And we're just going to adjust these until they're a little bit closer. Now I wonder if they're too close together. Honestly, that's a real question. That is a real question if they're too close together. Honestly, it feels like they were. Let's try it from the other side. Okay, welcome back from a quick break. Let's make sure our screencast keys are still on. Let's carry these to the left-hand side just a little bit. So we want to make sure that the gaps are appropriate, that they're not overdone, but you know, like they can't be too far away from each other, you know. That is important. And we're also going to adjust these ones. I'd say that's okay. That's actually not too bad. What we can then do is that if we find it to be uneven, we can adjust both of them together by selecting both of them, and we can gradually adjust both of them together. Like if we find that some of these are a little bit too far away or a little bit too close, we can adjust them both together. We're going to bring this down also closer to the front of the roof then. But not too close actually. We want to maintain a healthy distance, because I did notice, like in our reference images, you might have noticed there's healthy distance of the top of the roof, and that is not coincidental. And it doesn't have to be too much either. Like it really isn't too much. And as for this part is very key. It's very important, because this part needs to be adjusted using the active elements, and we're just going to inflate it. But that's quite tricky, isn't it? So we might have to do it manually, which means we don't need them all to be selected. Just the ones that are, just these ones basically, that need to be inflated. For one, we're going to raise them a little bit, then we're going to just adjust them out. Very tricky. We don't want to adjust them out too much. That's a little bit better, but I wonder if these also need to be adjusted. Particularly this one. And I wonder if these ones also need to be adjusted. So, still got some work to do, but this is looking good. Let's make sure that roof is okay. I don't know, this part looks like it needs a bit of an adjustment. This part as well. How about this area? Maybe we dissolve this and maybe we redo this again. It's very interesting because obviously this area needs to be sharp. And then we can gradually just carry some of these down. Can also carry this out just a little bit. We'll carry this out a little bit also to the left hand side. And as for this side, we're going to drop this a little bit as well. But this side, we might actually raise this. That's a little bit better. So as long as we don't raise it too high, we can sharpen it up a little bit more for both. And this side, we need to carry that side in a little bit more, including this area. Gonna adjust this also just a little bit. We're gonna carry this in almost like this and carry that up. We're gonna carry this back a little bit, kind of like that. And we're going to carry this back a little bit also. We're going to dissolve these edges and we're going to add a loop right there. Well, technically we already have a loop right there, so it's kind of unnecessary. Just wondering about this spot as well. Now I'm wondering about this spot, just bringing this out a little bit. I mean, that's it, you know, just little by little until this is perfect. Can hardly ask for more, because so far it's looking damn good. These areas, I have a feeling we need to bring these areas over a little bit more. Bring this up also. Wonderful. That's looking a little bit better. Well, it's looking a little bit better, but of course, I'm looking forward to the critique. You know, if there's anything I've missed, any way to improve this, I am looking for ways to improve this. Seriously. How about these ones right here? Could we readjust these ones also? It's possible. I mean, I don't think it had much benefit, but it's worth a shot. One of the parts that I don't like is here. Just that little bulge right there. You can see it right there. I never like that with designing. And I wonder if it's because, like, once we extrude this inwards, I wonder if we're able to fix it just by adding loop cuts around those areas. Probably. I mean, basically, yeah, it's fixed. Congratulations. That was easier than I thought. Just out of pure accident. And then probably add a loop cut around there. Nothing too sharp. That's okay. And let's see if the problem persists. I mean, the problem persists. Did you notice? That crease. Ooh. This needs to be lowered, but extruded. Why is this? Oh, I see. That's an interesting part, isn't it? You know what I'm curious about? This area. Wonder if we should put a vertex right there. This is more or less the final details. But of course, why so many vertices? That's interesting. Truth is, I have no idea. Yeah, why are there so many vertices right here? Maybe, why did I put so many vertices right there? Is there something I'm missing? I mean, maybe, but if anything, we'll just bring it back. We'll do this, we'll connect that, but then I actually want to get rid of it. Yeah, I actually want to get rid of it. Why do I want to get rid of it? Because I want to dissolve that as well. Join those. I want to add a loop right there. Now, that's crazy, isn't it? We're going to delete both of those. Going to do this. And we're going to join those. I don't know. I just improvise a little bit because, you know, sometimes improvisation is good. You know, even when car designing, you have the blueprint. I don't know, like improvising can be useful because, you know, it's going with a feeling, because it's modeling, it's 3D modeling. So you have to sort of like figure out how do you do the right thing and break the rule at the same time, because it's 3D designing. So it's all about breaking the rule and manipulating these objects until they give you the ideal designs. I don't know, is that what we were looking for? Look at that part, right? Isn't that interesting? Do we even need this? I don't know. Yeah, it turns out we do need it. Okay. I'm just looking at areas that could be improved. If there are areas that could be improved, well, it's worth looking into. Okay, now this area, we can actually just extrude this down. Not too much. Not too much at all. Let's bring this part up. Okay, interesting. Then we're going to extrude inwards. Well, just scale inwards on the left-hand side. Can also add a loop cut. This is around where I'm getting tired, and you can probably hear it in my voice. But because I'm super motivated to finish on a strong note. Now, why is this happening? Dissolve that. Add a loop right there. Now with this one, we can connect it right there. With that one, we can dissolve. I might adjust this like that. Might also add another loop right around there. See how that looks from the side. This is one of those areas that I tend to find a bit more challenging, but it's good. We can always learn something, you know, in the process of being challenged. So I'm just readjusting these really so that it looks as it should. Because it doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be as perfect as possible. And then you know what? I'm gonna adjust these. Probably don't even need to think about it. Probably don't even need to adjust these. I wonder if that will work now, or do we even need that? But why did I add that in the first place? Let's make sure it doesn't mess up anything we already have. Yeah, we probably don't need that because I don't want it to be too sharp. And to be honest, at the front, that looks a lot better. That looks a lot better in my personal opinion. But yeah, it's that's coming together quite lovely. Although we could bring this back a little bit, probably bring these part out a little bit, especially that area. Yeah, now that's looking a little bit better. Okay, I think this is where we might left it. After like 2 or 3 hours of recording, made great progress. We made terrific progress. So I hope this has been excellent for you. I hope you enjoy this video. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in our next episode.